Let me ask you one question. I forgot though. When we were talking about Cam's contract earlier, Jalen Johnson got $30 million. Jalen Green got $35 million. I want to say Quickly got $37 million. When Cam Thomas hits free agency next year, given those contracts this year, how much do you think Cam Thomas is going to get next year in the free market? Ballpark, right? Between 30 and 37?
Yeah, I would say closer to 30 than 37. But based on if he putting up numbers the way he did last game, Gary, it's gonna be hard to deny him. And I don't see why a team wouldn't want to pay him. I mean, he got 36, shooting over 51%. How many of the guys that are getting paid those big contracts are giving you 30 over 50%? Productivity to contract, Cam Thomas has the best contract to productivity in the entire NBA. You gotta pay this guy. You have to pay this guy.
And that Jalen Green, who I like. I'm not trying to dump on Jalen Green. I like Jalen Green. He's super athletic. He's fast, but he shoots 41, 42%, 33% from three. He's not a super efficient scorer, and he got the bag. So I'm wondering, like, if a guy who's not super efficient like Jalen Green got 35. I mean, I can't see Cam getting less than that. So especially if he's shooting 50%, around 50% this year, like he shot yesterday. If he's scoring 28 points a game on efficient scoring, he's going to get paid, I would think. Like, he's going to get the bag. But, I mean, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, no, of course. I think he deserves it, too. I think what also speaks to it, Gary, is the 67 games that he played. So he's someone that is not really injury prone. Look at his draft class. I love to make the comparison to his draft class, Gary. Look at his draft class. How many of those players that got drafted before him played 67 games?
How many? There's a lot of injuries in that draft class.
You know, it's hard to play 67 games. That's why the NBA did that rule, because they don't really want to pay players if you're not going to be there majority of the time. Cam Thomas, he qualified for MIP. I thought he should have been considered. It made sense to give it to Maxey. But Cam Thomas, I thought he deserved a little more credit for that MIP. You know what I mean? He really stepped up.
Maxey getting it, but I feel Maxey really should have got it the year before, right? He should have got it 2 years ago. And you know what I'm saying? If you look at Cam Thomas went from averaging 11 points a game to 22 and a half.
Yeah.
So, I mean, who else doubled their scoring average? And I understand that a lot of times there's a bias for good teams and players on playoff teams, but like, that's not the award. The award is the guy who's improved the most. Cam Thomas went from averaging 11 a game to 22 and a half. I don't know, like, how someone else could get that award. Like, clearly to me, that's an award that Cam Thomas deserved.
Absolutely.
You're back. The next thing I want to get into, and I don't really know your thoughts on Cam Johnson. I don't know if you know mine, but he had 14 points. He was 1 of 6 from 3. It was entirely inefficient again. He had 4 rebounds and no assists. Why is Cam Johnson on the court?
I don't know. Mikal Bridges got him that contract. You know what I mean? So I know they feel like they need to play him and raise his trade value. But at the end of the day, I'm biased because he messed up my parlay. I had hit everything, Gary. I had everything. I said Cam Johnson was going to hit 2 3-pointers, and he messed up my whole parlay. I was so mad. And it was because he took 6 3-pointers, bro. Like, you supposed to at least make 2 out of 6. Like, come on. You can't give us 2 out of 6. You are in the way. I think that Jalen Wilson should get the minutes that Cam Johnson's only getting because of his contract. And when Trendon Watford come back, again, Cam Johnson, you gotta move around. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't stop Jalen Wilson and Trendon Watford minutes because of Cam Johnson. No.
And that's why I wanted to trade Cam Johnson. I said just trade him. What you can get for him, you just take for it, because I honestly believe, and me and Pete from Nets Fans, talked about this. the more Cam Johnson plays, the more his value is going to go down. I mean, I'm not trying to sound funny, but like he's not that good. He's not the defender he was made out to be. When we got him, like okay, we're getting this great 3-and-D wing. He's not a great defender. I don't even know if he's a good defender.
Nope. Nah, he was subpar. He's subpar, Gary.
Yeah, that's kind of how I see it. He's soft as Sharman. He doesn't rebound. He doesn't get any assists. Like all he does is shoot. And if he's not hitting his shots, I don't understand why he's on the court. He's making $25 million, so he's making almost the same contract as Claxton for what production? And now you're gonna have to try to trade him. And the more he plays, the more everyone's gonna see his flaws. Like, and they may have to now attach a pick to him to trade him. And it's like I feel Sean Marks just like drop the ball on this. Like him still being here is a major problem. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, totally. I feel the same exact way. I feel that again. I will be reiterating everything you just said. I think at the end of the day, he says what he says to the media, and he does that because that's what you're supposed to do. You're doing your job. But at the end of the day, I don't like the fact that Cam Johnson knows that this is a bad situation. He didn't try to force his way. If anybody tried to force a trade, it should have been Cam Johnson. As soon as Mikal Bridges left, he should have been like, "Yo, I want to leave too." I don't see him playing with heart desire, and that's the thing. We trying to establish a culture and the way we do things. You know what I mean? And Cam Johnson is not fitting that by taking 6 3-pointers, knowing that you off, go to the basket, get to the basket more. And ultimately, I don't like his game. I'm like I say, he messed up my parlay. I'm not saying he should get traded because he messed up my parlay yesterday. Like he didn't, did what he did in that short span of time, and that's 28 games. But last season, he started the season hurt, and he didn't get off to a good start. This season, and he didn't play well, in my opinion, being the second or third option on the offensive side of the ball. Anytime we try to give him more responsibility on the offensive side of the ball, he doesn't show up. You know what I mean? I think he's taking minutes and opportunities away from Zion Williams, Jalen Wilson, and Trendon Watford, who should really be getting his minutes. If it was up to me, I would bench Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson would come off the bench if I was the head coach, but I'm not. So it is.
That's my next question. He just took the words out of my mouth. I was just going to ask you about that. We all want to see Jalen Wilson and Zaire get those minutes, and you said I would bench him. I would bench him too, but if I bench, I'm trying to trade him. If I bench him and I give Jalen Wilson those minutes, am I killing his trade value?
Nah, that's tough, Gary. Because you teams that should want Cam Johnson should be either a playoff team on the Eastern Conference or the Western Conference. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be the top 8 teams on the East or the West. And if he's not playing, if he's not, having games where he's 3 for 5 and he's doing that for a week in a row, something like that, it's nothing for that he did last season for a contender to say, all right, we want Cam Johnson and calling the Brooklyn Nets and making a deal. So that being said, his reputation won't get us. We would at this point, if we had to trade him, we would have to take late second round draft picks, bro. I don't see us having the advantage at the negotiating table because of Cam Johnson trade wise.
I would take a prospect from it. I always like the trade, sending him to Orlando. Give me Jet Howard, a young player, and then some twos. Like that's something I would look at. But like the more he plays, the more value he drops. Like that $25 million contract is not going to help him. So it's like, would you make that trade for Jet Howard and then some twos? And do you think Orlando would make that trade, or has Cam Thomas played himself out of being traded because of his contract? Cam Johnson played himself out. Yeah.
Nah, that's all good, Gary. I'll be honest with you. That's a great trade. And as you already know, Juwan Howard is that assistant coach for the team. Jay Howard being on his team will be a plus. It will help the locker room. You got a father, son, everything going on with LeBron and this and that. So just to have that father, son, coach, even if it's not play like LeBron and Bronny, just the setting, you know what I'm saying, the vibe, the energy of really caring about the careers, it would permeate because of course Juwan Howard would care about Jet Howard's career. I think it's a win-win situation because Orlando is somebody that wants to get past the first round. I think they lost in the first round to Cleveland last season.
Yeah, 7 games. Yeah.
So I think, if Cam Johnson can show that he, can have a good streak, maybe a month or two of good basketball, we can push for that trade, and that would be a great trade. I'm glad I heard that someone else say that Gary, but I like Jet Howard. I'm with that, and yes, I'm for that trade. That's a fact.
All right, guys, please like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe. I want to switch subject. We were talking about Cam Johnson being traded so that Jalen Wilson and Zaire can get more minutes. Jalen Wilson was like the 53rd pick in the draft. You guys, in fact, I think it was 53rd. He's really outplayed that draft position. He had 16 points. He plays hard. He rebounds. He creates his own shot. He scores in the paint. He can stroke the three ball. What's the upside on Jalen Wilson? Like, where's his ceiling? How good can Jalen Wilson be?
Jalen Wilson, he's a piece on the championship team. You want him coming off your bench. He's really good at the corner three. He can knock down the elbow three. He can get to the basket, but I do think that he hit a wall between the space of getting to the basket and the 3-point line. He doesn't have a midi. If Jalen Wilson can work on his midi, he giving you shy of 20 points a night. 20 points per game. He's giving you shy of 20. He's averaging shy of 20, 17, 18 points per game if you work on his midi. But if he doesn't develop, which I think all of these players are trying to develop this season, that's what I need to see from Jalen Wilson. And I think you're going to get the complete player of Jalen Wilson, in my opinion. I think that's the last part of the game that he needs to work on. But I believe he has a knack for the ball. I like him on the defensive side of the ball. He's always around the ball, whether it's getting a rebound or offensive rebound or defensive rebound. And he's always cutting a slash into the basket. He can be one of Jordi Fernandez's favorite player because of you get some of the defense that Zaire Williams get from Jalen Wilson, but you also get more offense from Jalen Wilson than you do a Zion Williams. I think he's going to be heavy in the rotation. I look for Jalen Wilson to get 25 to 30 minutes a game this season.
And that's why you need to trade Cam Johnson immediately, because you need to give Jalen. I honestly think if Jalen Wilson got 30 minutes a game, he could be the second leading scorer on the team.
Wow. Me too. How many points you think he could score, Gary?
If we're giving him 30 minutes a game,
yeah,
I think he can hit 16, 17 points a game. I mean, someone else has to do the scoring, right? And he can create his own shot. He can hit open threes. He can get putbacks. He can get to the line. Like, there's a lot that he can do offensively. He can score in a variety of ways. The only thing he can't do is that mid-range game. But other than that, he's a pretty good offensive player. Like I said, he rebounds. He defends his position. He's your, like you said, he's your coach's favorite player. Like, he's gonna do whatever you ask him to do, right? He cuts all over the floor. He works hard on defense. He rebounds. He can defend multiple positions. You just, like, that's a guy you want on the court. So if you can get him those minutes, he can score in more ways, I believe, than Cam Johnson does, who just stands outside and shoots threes. I'm just sick of seeing Cam Johnson out there giving you nothing if he's not hitting his threes that night. Like, if Cam Johnson's not hitting his threes, why is he on the court? There's no reason. There's no function for him being on the court. He doesn't do anything else.
Nah, that's a fact. And I like Jalen Wilson because, for one, he did the G League and he did it with a smile on his face, happy for the opportunity. And he's somebody that makes the most out of his minutes. He's not sullied up by anything. He's excited to be here, and I like that in a player. And that's why I like Jalen Wilson. Some of these guys, respectfully, they look like they just coming to work. You know what I mean? But as a fan, from a fan perspective, you want to see these players. Like, these players are going to be millionaires after whether they win or lose. As a fan, I feel like we get the win when we see these players give it their best. And sometimes I feel like they just come into work, and they don't care about the win or loss. They just, I did my job. You were 1 for 6. You ain't do your job. You know what I'm saying? So, again, like I say, you messed up my parlay. Any other Nets fan, Gary and any other Nets fan that asks me if I want you traded, I'm gonna say yes. You got, for me to forgive you, man. For me to Big Fan Breezy forgive you, man. You gotta hit on my parlay one of these times, man. Because right now you're in a bad place with Big Fan Breezy, man.
he cost you money. I mean, if it
I'm
loses
telling
the
you right
dollars, it
now.
doesn't make sense. I wanted to ask you this though. The last question about this game, and I want to talk about Orlando just after this, who we have next. If you said someone was going to absolutely kill me on Atlanta, I would have not guessed. I'm going to say his name wrong. Okonkwo. 11 to 12, 28 points. I think he's in his second year out of USC. How did the Nets let this guy, Okonkwo, kill you? 28 points on 11 of 12 shooting and 8 rebounds in like 28 minutes off the bench. How does that happen?
Ben Simmons ain't playing no defense. Clax in foul trouble. And DFS, man, we not getting nothing from DFS.
Watch like look if Ice Trey went off, if the rookie Riche would have hit a bunch of threes and that's how you lose, okay. But watching Okonkwo just own you on the glass, scoring easy buckets. He had 14 in the first half, and I said, "Oh, you better get that under control. You better get a body on him." And then he had 14 again in the second half. I can't live with Okonkwo killing you. Him being the reason why you lost.
Yeah, nah, that was terrible to see, man. We should have definitely had him in check. Like he's Ngannou. Like I mean, that was his career high. He never scored 28 points in his whole entire life in the NBA until we played him. So yeah, it was unacceptable, and we're not gonna win games with letting them crash boards the way they did. And um, the foul trouble was crazy. The 46 fouls was crazy. So I know that did help Atlanta beat us. And I think if we wasn't in so much foul trouble, we could have beat them. But like to your point, this is why we missed a Dayron Sharp. You know what I'm saying? He could have been there helping us crash boards. But regardless, with Dayron Sharp not being there, near 11 for 12, it's like he wasn't even getting contested at the rim. He wasn't getting contested at the basket. No, he was too successful to be coming off the bench doing us bad that way. Yeah, I wasn't feeling that neither, Gary.
They made it easy for him. And then Zachary Reese, the first overall pick, he didn't play a ton of minutes. Played about 20 minutes. He had 7 points. Didn't get he didn't start. I thought he would start just because he's the first pick in the draft. What were your thoughts on the first overall pick in the draft, Zach Reese?
I seen him hit that open three because of the pass, Trey Young. I mean, I thought that was good, but nothing that blew my mind. Nothing that made me say like, "Oh my gosh, he's the next guy up." Like, I still feel like Wemby might be better than him, and I'm just saying that based on him being the number one pick.
Yeah.
I thought he was underwhelming, Gary. He didn't jump off the screen.
Yeah, there was nothing. I kind of agree with you. Like, oh, that's it. I mean, it wasn't bad. He wasn't getting cooked. He wasn't throwing up bricks on it. But it was just like for the first overall pick in the draft, you want to be wowed. Like you want to, oh wow, like Wemby or Zion, like the first pick in the draft. And I didn't really see anything that blew my mind. So it was what it was. We're 0-1.
Yeah.
We go tomorrow. We go to Orlando. It's a much better team than Atlanta. I think Orlando is going to be one of the better teams in the East this year. What are our chances, and how is it going to look tomorrow in Orlando?
I think is what you said at the start of the show, Gary. I think Cam Thomas he gonna wind up getting hot, but it's not gonna be enough. We got to still guard Paolo. They got KCP. They got a bunch of guys on the perimeter that could slow Cam Thomas down. I think we could expect a big game out of Jalen Wilson. I think Jalen Wilson, he won't let Cam Thomas get doubled. You try to double Cam Thomas, he's someone that could cut to the basket. He could, you know what I mean, free Cam. He could free him up by staying close to Cam Thomas, off of the double, preparing for Orlando's perimeter defense. I don't think we get blown out or nothing like that, but if Ngannou gonna score 28 on us, Lord help us so Apollo fitting to do to the front court, you know what I'm saying? But Nick Claxton gonna definitely have to step up his defense. And ultimately I think we might be 0-2. You know what I'm saying? I ain't even gonna hold you. I think it might be a close one. And I thought we would get the win in Atlanta. And for us not to win that and go on the road versus Orlando, I don't. I'm a Nets fan, but if I'm being a realistic vlogger, I think that's a tough act for the Nets. I think we beat them 1 out of 4 times last season. I think we beat them 1 time, and they beat us 3 times. So it might be a tough one for us, Gary.
They're better this year. So
yeah, it might be tough for us, Gary. Next game, I ain't gonna lie to you, bro.
No, that was the one game I'm like, well, they're not going to win that game. And then you're home, but you got Milwaukee and Denver. Those are going to be 2 times. You're at home, but those are 2 of the better teams. When do the Nets get this first win? When do we get outside, or when do we get a win?
And this is a wild take to some people, but I don't think the Bucks is that good. They're a good team, but they are beatable in my opinion. Denver's tough, but I do think that the defense of the perimeter defense of the Milwaukee Bucks could have them in trouble. I don't think I seen the game between the Nets and the Bucks last season, and then Cam Thomas he had like 40. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he's somebody that I feel like can show up and actually, you know what I mean, beat the Bucks. I'm not even going to count us out. I would say that the Orlando Magic got a better chance than beating us than the Bucks. It's something about the Bucks that I feel like we could beat. But we definitely got to get to the basket and get the old-fashioned 3-pointers. You know what I mean? The and ones. So I think we could beat the Bucks, Gary. I'm not gonna lie to you.
If you're in Brooklyn, if you're in New York City, tickets on Game Time app just dropped. They start at $51 now, so you can get there and check out the Nets relatively inexpensively if you're in New York City. The Bucks are the one I'm looking at. If we don't win that one, Denver's going to be tough. Chicago, we got to get one of those 2. I don't want to start 0-5. So I'm looking at Milwaukee. Milwaukee's got some issues, like you said. Milwaukee might be overrated. Can't get that one. We got Chicago in the 5th game. We got to get one of those. So I don't want to come on here next week and talk about the 0-5 Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, honestly, I think we could beat Chicago. But they ain't really got nobody. They got DeRozan, they got Zach LaVine, but they ain't got DeRozan. It's just they ain't got enough. They ain't impressive. And I remember beating them, and I remember the duel between Kobe White and Cam Thomas, because I was looking at it like, both of them in the runners for MIP. I want to see what's going to happen. And Cam Thomas gave Kobe White work, and it is what it is. I think we're going to be 1-4. I'll say 2-3 because I do think that we're going to beat the Bucks. But Denver is a tough act, man. I'm not saying we can't beat them, but they a tough act. They got Jokic, and it was
I'll be shocked.
Yeah.
I'll be shocked if we beat Denver. I know it's home, but I'll still be shocked if we.
Yeah, man, because Ngannou, man, he had 28. If they can't stop Ngannou, how we gonna stop Giannis? How we gonna stop Jokic? We got to do better in that front court for real.
And that's why I think you got to play Claxton some more minutes, and Claxton's got to get more physical. Jalen Wilson, you got to use him more minutes. And then Zaire Williams, like you got the guys that can do it. I don't know if Zaire can really guard big 4s like that, and 5s. But he's got the height. He's got a 7'2" wingspan too, right, Zaire?
Yeah. Zaire Williams, I like him guarding 2s and 3s and maybe a small 4. I don't really want him on 1. Maybe he could guard 1s. Matter of fact, I'll say 1 through 3, pause, opposed to 4. He's 6'9". You don't want him to, he could get in foul trouble trying to guard somebody on a post, but just perimeter wise, like guys trying to cross him over and get past him, I'll take my chances with him. I think he's I think he's our best perimeter defender, as a matter of fact.
I think so too. That's why I just want to give him all of Ben Simmons' minutes. Like I know Zaire's offense isn't great, but neither is Ben Simmons, right? So just let's give those Ben's minutes to Zaire. He can do more with it. He's gonna work harder than Ben. Like he's gonna constantly hound you on defense. So I would just put Zaire out there. I want to ask you. I want you to put your Jordi Fernandez cap on. I'm gonna make you the head coach tomorrow against Orlando. What's your starting 5? Who's the next starting?
My starting 5 is if Clax could go, then he's gonna go. You know what I mean? I got Clax starting. I got at the 4. I got, oh my gosh, I got Clowney. I got Clowney at the 4. I got Jalen Wilson at the 3. I got Cam Thomas at the 2, and I got Schroeder at the 1. Ben Simmons, sit down. You know what I'm saying? Cam Johnson, sit down. Y'all come off the bench now, man.
You got This is a starting five I want to use too. So I agree with you 100% on this. Which brings me to my question. Jonathan asked, could Magic be scouting some of Brooklyn's vets? Is this an audition for Cam Johnson and DFS basically? Like, can they at least cook today? So maybe, Orlando needs shooters. Can we ship one of those to Orlando for, like I said, Jet Howard and some seconds? Is this an audition for those guys?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you and John on this, 100%. I think that's exactly what it is. I think they probably would want DFS more than a Cam Johnson, because the thing was supposed to be Cam Johnson is a better jump shooter than DFS, but DFS is a better defender. Yeah. But both of them can't shoot. And DFS is a better defender than Cam Johnson. So if they were to make the trade, I think it would be for DFS before it would be for Cam Johnson, because his defense is better than Cam Johnson, and both of them are shooting bad right now, shooting poorly.
Yeah, and DFS, he can guard fours. He can also guard wings. I don't really think Cam Johnson can guard anybody, right? Like, we got some really good. Like, he can't guard fours. Like, imagine him trying to guard Julius Randle. That ain't gonna work. And now imagine him trying to guard a wing. Like, that ain't gonna work.
He said Julius Randle. Hell no.
Right? And none of it's gonna. He's too soft to guard fours, and he's not quick enough to guard wings. So I don't really. Again, I'm not trying to dump all over Cam Johnson, but I don't see anything about his game that I like. But give me your prediction. Give me a score against Orlando. You think we're gonna get that one, right?
Versus Orlando, I would say the Bucks before Orlando. I feel
Bucks
like
Orlando. So we 0-2.
Yeah, man. But the way we could beat them is if Paolo is the only one contributing on the offensive side of the ball. If we could get it to where he's the only one scoring the ball, we could beat them. You know what I'm saying? But we're gonna have to go to the paint. We gotta attack them. They got a big team, you know what I mean? Their team look like it might be bigger than ours, but I will say the X factor for us winning would be Noah Clowney. If Noah Clowney is able to get them to, you know what I mean, guard him on the perimeter, and then he could get into basketball action like a pump fake, and then maybe 1-2 hard dribbles, and he'll attack the basket. I think he is the reason. I think Cam Thomas is going to do what he's going to do. But if we could get that third scorer to be closer to what Jalen Wilson is doing, if Clowney could really put up some points for us, I'm talking about 18 to 20 points. If Clowney could do that, I think we could win. But that is the way, though. I don't think it's going to be because Cam Johnson and DFS is shooting well. I think it's going to be because of Clowney. I think Clowney's defense is solid. I liked him last game. I liked his game, but I thought he was 1 for 3. I want to see him 2 for 3. Or I want to see him 2 for 4. I want to see him take more 3-pointers. I don't think Cam Johnson should be taking 6 3-pointers. I think that's ill-advised. I think he should be taking 3 3-pointers, and Clowney should be taking 6 3-pointers. So to answer your question, Gary, the Nets could beat Orlando if Clowney can get us 20 points, but we need Clowney to really help on the scoring side of the ball for us to get that win.
No, I agree. If you can get a true secondary scoring option, either Clowney or Wilson, if one of those guys can step up and get you 20, you have a real chance to win. Because Orlando's a really good team, but they don't have a ton of scorers either, right? Like, I mean, they're really good defensively. They're really big. They're long. They defend really well. But offensively, they only have a couple of good scoring options also. So if we can get someone else to step up and get a bunch of baskets, we would have a chance with Orlando. But they got to get on the court, right? Like, Clowney and Wilson can't score 20 if they're sitting on the bench. And that's, I got to keep saying it, why Cam Johnson needs to be gone. But I appreciate you hopping on. I appreciate you giving me the hour, Breezy. Hopefully we can do this again sometime soon.
Yeah, no, of course, man. And if I'm not on the show, I'm in the chat. Subscribe to this page. And I want to say thank you to you and you, since I'm right here on the show, a Nets content creator that's doing these lives now, doing this. You're helping the fan base, you're growing the fan base, and you're doing it in a season where we don't have no expectations to win a championship. We lost a lot of fans when we were not chasing a championship when KD, Kyrie, and Harden was going. We lost a lot of fans, but you a fan that's still there and you pushing great content. I love what you got going on. And again, thank you, man. And I appreciate you having me on the show.
Appreciate you, Breezy. I'm 40 years old. I've been a Net fan since '92, the Kenny Anderson days. So I'm not going anywhere. I'm with the Brooklyn Nets. Yeah, I'm with the Nets forever. So I appreciate you coming on, Breezy. Tell them where they can find you again, and also subscribe to Breezy's channel.
Y'all can find me on YouTube at Big Fan Breezy, or on Twitter, Big Fan Breezy, or IG, Big Fan Breezy, same handle. And or you can find me on the next show that he does, and I'll be in the chat. You know what I'm saying? That's where I'm gonna be at. Nets fans is the best fans. Thank all y'all, man. We really, you know what I'm saying, growing the fan base. And this is I'm glad to be a part of it. Thanks.
All right, y'all, from Texas to the world. Thank you, and God bless.